Imagine a sun-drenched December morning in Hawaii, eerily quiet. No alarms, no chaos, just the gentle Pacific breeze. But what if history had taken a different turn? What if Pearl Harbor remained untouched? Would the United States have still joined World War II? And let's find the answer to the question, what if? Japan's pre-Pearl Harbor diplomatic options warrant close examination. Negotiations with the US focusing on resource access and Pacific influence could have averted conflict. However, Japan's internal political landscape, dominated by a powerful military faction, presented a significant hurdle to a less aggressive foreign policy. A peaceful approach might have alienated Japan's Axis allies, Germany and Italy, potentially altering their war strategies and potentially creating instability within the Axis alliance. Their reactions, perhaps accelerated expansionism or a more focused European campaign, would have dramatically reshaped the global conflict regardless of a US intervention. Without the Pearl Harbor attack, US public opinion might have favored continued isolationism, delaying or preventing entry into World War II. A less interventionist foreign policy could have meant scaled back aid to Britain and China, potentially impacting the war's outcome in Europe. This shift in priorities doesn't necessarily equate to complete neutrality. Economic sanctions or limited material support remained possible. The absence of direct US military involvement would have significantly altered the balance of power, possibly leading to a prolonged and more devastating war in Europe with potentially different outcomes for the Axis powers and the Soviet Union. The lack of significant American intervention could have resulted in a drastically different post-war world order. Without US intervention, the European war's trajectory would dramatically shift. A prolonged conflict might have favored the Axis powers, potentially leading to a Nazi-dominated Europe. The geopolitical map would be drastically altered, with the Soviet Union facing a much stronger adversary and potentially suffering greater losses, significantly impacting its post-war relationship with the West. A different balance of power could have emerged, drastically different from the bipolar world that actually developed. The absence of a substantial US military presence would have altered the war's length and outcome, potentially leading to a different peace treaty and a vastly different geopolitical landscape in post-war Europe. The Soviet Union's position, both geographically and politically, would have been significantly different, potentially resulting in a vastly different Cold War dynamic or the absence of one altogether. A world without direct US involvement in World War II would likely see a dramatically altered global power balance. The Soviet Union, unchecked by a powerful American adversary, might have expanded its influence across Eastern Europe and beyond, potentially leading to a far more extensive communist bloc. The formation of international organizations like the UN might have been drastically different, perhaps less effective, or with a far heavier Soviet hand in shaping its agenda and policies. Economically, the absence of significant US post-war aid and investment could have led to slower growth in many countries, while the technological landscape might have seen slower progress in certain areas, as the US played a significant role in post-war technological advancements. In short, a different global order would have emerged, one potentially less stable and characterized by a different distribution of power and influence. A world without Pearl Harbor would ripple with unforeseen consequences. Technological advancements, potentially slower without the wartime push, might have taken different paths. Cultural trends, unshaped by the shared trauma of global conflict, could have evolved in unpredictable ways. Societal structures less influenced by post-war anxieties and rebuilding efforts might have developed along vastly different lines. The pace of decolonization, unaccelerated by the weakened European powers, could have been significantly slower, leading to a drastically different configuration of nation-states. Imagine a world where the Cold War's intensity is altered, where technological leaps occur later, or cultural movements take unexpected turns. The absence of a single event creates a cascade of changes, highlighting history's inherent unpredictability. Pearl Harbor's absence dramatically alters World War II's course and the subsequent world order. The ramifications are vast and unpredictable, impacting everything from global power dynamics to technological advancement. In your opinion, what if Japan hadn't attacked Pearl Harbor? Share your thoughts in the comments.